Speaking of the whole receiver situation, Ray, I mean, honestly, one of the biggest stories of this season has been the disappearance, although you'd have to arrive first to disappear, of one Roman Wilson. What are we to make of this whole story? We ever going to see him or no?
I suppose somebody else can get injured, Joe, but I think if everyone else stays healthy, where does Roman Wilson fit? And again, you're talking about him having a hard time jumping on a moving train to begin with. Now he's going to jump on a moving train, as Tomlin loves to say, for a second time and late in the season when you're making a playoff push. So, yeah, I mean, I suppose he could come back if there's an injury, but if not, I think he's going to probably get that redshirt year, and hopefully he can come back next year and have a better season.
Ray, Naji Harris playing probably the best football of his career. His last 3 games have all been over 100 yards. Do you expect more of the same of that on Sunday? And then how do you come down this week, since that's probably going to be a weekly question at this point, how do you come down on if the Steelers made a mistake not optioning him to that 5th year?
Well, he's going to have a shot this week because the Commanders' run defense is not very good. So assuming the offensive line continues to block well and Russ continues to hit some shots down the field to open up that running game, yeah, Najee's going to have a chance to do that. Now, in terms of him, the Steelers making a mistake or however you want to frame that, I'm not there. They really like Jaylen Warren. He's a restricted free agent. They have plans to keep him. Cordero Patterson signed a 2-year deal, so he's back next year. And I think you could always add another running back either through the draft or through, free agency in the spring. So when they made that decision in early May not to spend that $6.7 million, I think they did it knowing full well that if Naji had a great season, he was probably going to price himself out of their range.
And yet our colleague Jerry Dulac said in his chat this week, Ray, that he's always felt and still does that Naji will be a Steeler beyond this season. What do you make of that?
Well, they're going to have to pay for it then, because we just saw this week that Hubbard got, $8 million over 4 years. Now, these running back contracts, guys, you got to really wait to see what's really true. I haven't looked it over the cap just yet, but I know $15 million was guaranteed to Hubbard, so I'm guessing the first 2 years are guaranteed, so $7.5 million a year. I mean, listen, that's the going rate. That's what Jacobs got in Green Bay. That's what you're going to have to pay. So if the Steelers want to pay that, they'll have the cap room. But you got to remember, they got T.J. Watt coming up. They got this quarterback situation coming up. They're going to have to spend a lot of money elsewhere. I'm not sure running back is going to be at the top of their priority list.
Donny, when I hold a finger up like that, my index finger, that used to annoy Mulsey because it means I want a follow-up question. He's become very annoyed with that. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I think it's a good way of nonverbal communication here.
I thought so. The people watching on YouTube might be wondering about that. And when I stare straight ahead, I'm staring into the camera, not weirdly at you, okay? Because every time I look in the camera, you look up like I want you. I'm going to use hand signals, okay? No eye signals, all right?
I got it.
Okay. Well, speaking of that, Ray, I mean, they're a run-first team. I'm of the opinion that running backs can be found in abundance, but that doesn't mean they're all the same. Right. And, you mentioned the quarterback situation. I think no matter what with Russell Wilson, he's not going to go out and command elite quarterback money. So if that means you can afford the luxury, and I would call it a luxury, of paying a couple running backs reasonable money, and it's never big money. I mean, Najee's going to come in at less than James Daniels and Larry Ogunjobi and people like that this year anyway, what their numbers are this year. He'll come in probably at less than those guys. Right. To me, it's like, what's the big deal? And if you're a run-first team, why wouldn't you do it? And thirdly, they have a history of rewarding their own guys, the guys that they picked when they're A, productive, B, highly competitive, and C, well-liked, like respected in the locker room. And I think Naji fits all three of those. Do you?
I do, Joe, but it goes back to the question, why didn't they pick up the option in May?
Because, well, this is again according to our colleague Jerry, they wanted to see how he would fit in Arthur Smith's scheme. To me, it's a resounding really good right now, at least.
Yeah. Listen, I agree with you, Joe. I think Naji is a really good fit in this offense. But if you go back and look at Arthur Smith's history, he got it done in Tennessee with Derrick Henry. He always had good rushing teams in Atlanta. Say what you want about his record there, 7-10, 3 years in a row. They could always run the football. And in his first year here, he's proving he can run the football. He knows how to do it. So I don't think Naji Harris, if they don't bring him back, it's going to mean the Steelers' running game is going to, take a big hit. So it's not that I don't think Naji's a good player. I think he's a really good player, but I just don't necessarily think that they're going to spend a lot of money on a running back, especially, as you know, Joe, you can go and get one in the draft, probably third or fourth round, and that guy's going to end up being a good player.